This episode will change the way you think about starting over. If you've ever thought about reinventing yourself, even in small ways, like changing one habit, it can seem like the ultimate task and such a long, scary journey, even though you know you want it. This episode will give you insight on how to let go of believing the loud doubts in our mind. This is your time to be who you want to be. Welcome to Wandering the Wild Mess with Heather Morgan. I am so happy you're here. All right, y'all. It is the rebranded, repurposed me. And what better time to talk about reinventing ourselves? I felt so called because so much has happened since I started this podcast a little over a year ago in my personal life, and from hearing from people that listen, just how much my mess is really like related to them, even if they weren't in the same exact experiences. And so it really made me think that on this journey, the whole point that I started the podcast was to let people feel less alone by listening to my mess. And here is more. Now I'm starting anew. This rebrand is really exciting for me because I feel like it's a rebirth, reinvention, whatever terminology you want to use to think about just kind of stepping into a new chapter in your life and becoming a new you. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that I've been speaking with lately, where you might feel a little stagnant in your current life, current situation, and you want to step into a new space, but you're not even sure where to begin or what that should look like. And you're just like, okay, maybe I'll just stay where I am. Because, like I said, even changing one habit in our lives can seem so overwhelming to us because it's just a complete change in our day-to-day pattern, right? And I realized this myself personally in looking at this whole rebrand is like, okay, this is who I am now. And sometimes it's like imposter syndrome, whatever term you want to use, you're kind of like, am I? But we all go through those struggles. And in the corporate world, I'd had that so many times where I'm like presenting and you're like, am I even like supposed to be here? And you just have to realize like, yes, you were invited to this party and you're supposed to be here. And if there's something in your heart and soul that you want to do, then yes, you're supposed to be there. You're supposed to show up. It's most of the time only you and your mind that's blocking you from becoming or embodying or being seen as that person, that expert in that area, that go-to person of a certain topic, that whatever it is in your heart. So I wanted to kind of give some very like thought through steps and things that I did along this journey to really become who I want to be, who I know I'm called to be, who I feel like I'm meant to be. And I think it's so wonderful and why I'm so excited to share this with you, y'all, because I feel like sometimes in our life, we beat ourselves up over past mistakes and we repeat, and almost to the point where we don't know if we're even like worthy of being better because we're like, well, look at all these things that we did wrong. And that is one of the first things that I really had to work with. And there's two things we'll kind of go through the list, but letting go and forgiving the past version of you. Because we often go through our life and there's a lot of things that we look back and like, man, I really messed up when that happened. I should have done this better. I should have all of those things. I mean, I don't think there's one human that I've talked to, and I'm a yapper, that's over here saying they haven't had a moment where they're just beating themselves up over something that cannot be changed. And when we do that, sometimes it's hard for us to really, and I'm telling you the psychology of it, it's hard for us to really feel like we're worthy of becoming better. So it almost keeps us stuck in, okay, this is who I am, because we almost don't feel deserving of a better us, a better life. We're like taking inventory in our minds of all the mistakes we've made, all the things that people have told us. And we create this folder, I'll call it, of like limiting beliefs. All of these beliefs that we're not worthy, not good enough, not this, not that. We made these mistakes. And it's like this giant folder we're like lugging around. And every time we want to do something to better ourselves, it's like the folder of limiting beliefs, I'll call, if you know that term, comes down and it's like thrown on the table in front of you. Like, oh, really? Really? You want to level up? Well, look at all of these. And you're like, okay, do I have to go through all, like, what? This, okay. All right. Never mind. I'm not ready. And that's sometimes how it can feel when you're ready to step into something new. You are really having to go through that folder and like forgive yourself for believing things that are not true. And the craziest thing is, and I've talked about this before, like, and George Costanza said it, and I will never forget because I used to watch Seinfeld like in my younger years or whatever, but that it's not a lie if you believe it. And that's the same with the truth, like either way. And so whatever you believe about yourself is the truth. And I saw like someone, and if I remembered, I would credit, talk about like if someone says, oh my gosh, I don't like your purple hair, and you don't have purple hair, you don't care, right? You're like, okay, great. You're kind of just like, whatever. But when someone says something that you think is true about you, right? Like I can roll off like you have ugly purple hair all day because I don't have it. But if someone comes at me with something that I have in my heart that I think may be true about me, that's why it hurts. It's not because it's true. It doesn't matter who said it. It doesn't matter what they think. It only stings when you believe it about yourself. And if you think like that, you realize that everything is really here as like a mirror self-reflecting on you, what your mind thinks about yourself. Everything. And so why we need to forgive the past versions of ourselves is it's important to realize we did what we could with what we had in that moment in time. And now we're moving from that and we're going, okay, all these things were said, done, happened. I had these beliefs. I'm going to reframe my mind to let go of those beliefs and insert new ones about myself and my life and what I'm capable of. And that's where the next tip comes in, the power of self-concept. This is really the shapeshifter of your whole life. And I will tell you that there is nothing more powerful than your self-concept on where you go in this life. And I mentioned before, this is so important for me to share this message because there are so many amazing people in my life that I know don't even know how amazing they are. They're not giving themselves the credit. They're so capable of bringing so much light and greatness and talent into this world. That's you. That's every one of you that's listening. This is true about all of you. There's not a person that I don't feel this way about, if I'm honest. Not one single person that I've ever met in my life that I don't feel called to tell this message to. Because I'm not going to cry. I could tear up when I meet people, and I could only have met them for a moment. And when I see them doubting themselves, I'm just like, dude, you're amazing. You know this really cool thing that I know nothing about. What are you talking about? You're amazing. And there's so many people that just have held on to these limiting beliefs and not allowed themselves to change their self-concept. And it's not an ego thing, right? And I think sometimes when you've grown up and especially like maybe religious, like, or in a family that was kind of like, okay, like don't be boastful and all of that, you kind of feel wrong to be like, no, I am that person. I am that girl. I am that man. I am like worthy. I am this. Like, because it's not about being better than anyone else. It's not about saying like you can do this and someone else can't. There's not a competition piece of this. This is you knowing who you are and what you have to offer this world and creating an accurate self concept for yourself based on beliefs that you actually feel to be true about yourself because you love yourself and you're like, yeah, these are all the things about me that I love. And these are the talents that I have. And this is the light I have to give. This is the area that I can bring expertise. This is where I shine. And you are 100% worthy of being in that space, right? And so when I tell you about self-concept, I really am telling you because it shapes your reality. So if you show up somewhere to the world and you go somewhere and I've talked about this with the energy thing, your self concept, you're really telling people who you are with your energy and how you think of yourself. And that's why it's so important to even speak highly of yourself. And it, again, not in a boasterful, I mean, is that the right word? But not in this like, da da da, look at me, but just like in a very like self knowing your worth and being just like, this is who I am and just owning it. I think a lot of times we feel like we have to like fit in these boxes and we've talked about it before. And that was a lot of how I even started over. Like I was conforming to so many boxes for so many people for so long that I wasn't owning myself. I was just fitting where I didn't necessarily belong. And once you kind of get yourself out of that box and that way of thinking, you're like, this is who I am and it's great. I love it. And you just kind of give yourself enough love and acceptance to build on your self concept of like, this is where I'm going and I'm worthy of going in that direction. And I'm leading with kindness and integrity. I'm not hurting anyone along my way. If anything, I'm trying to spread more light by being who I truly am because that reflects and people can see it and that can inspire them to become who they are meant to be. And this is so true when you think about people in your life, especially if you're a parent with children. For them to see you, because children are even better at like picking up on energies and things because they have less like worldly experiences to kind of fuzzy their mind with real life scenarios, right? That's why they're just so blunt because they're not overthinking and trying to fit in any boxes. They're still in this free space. And so they can see when you're just happily owning who you are and what you're doing with your life. And that inspires. Like that, I know that even like as I grew up, seeing my mom like being very loved by my father and very independent of needing like all of his time and attention. Like she definitely wasn't like a needy wife. And I'm not like shaming everyone has different love language and things, but what I'm saying is that really showed me like a healthy, like she was not putting her entire worth or from what my perception as a kid on like my father. Like she loved him dearly, but like they did things like separately and they just came together. And it was just a really good dynamic now that I look back to look at, to have as an experience. And as a kid, you know, I knew that. I think, you know, in talking to people that have told me their stories about their experiences with their parents, I think a lot of, and I have a friend of mine that, you know, she still has a lot of resentment from for her mother for staying with her father so long because she was like, they weren't a good fit and I had to just see it. And I think that really just speaks truly to when you're not, if you're just staying in a space just to stay in it and it's not like who you want to be, what you want to do, like people notice. Not just to like it's so loud, but you kind of think like, oh, I'm staying and it's fine and I'm just gonna, but really it's it's loud to those that care for you in your energy or that come around you. If you have children, whatever it is, it's very loud. And that's oftentimes why when people do certain things in their life, whether they leave a relationship or they start a business or they go after their dreams or they start doing things, people close to them will be like, man, I've never seen you more happy in your life. And it's because before you weren't really allowing yourself to be that happy. You were staying where you didn't want to be or going through the motions and not being that like authentic self. So of course you didn't radiate, look at how happy I am. And that's why it seems like such a shift when really you're finally just owning who you want to be and who you're meant to be. And that's really what this episode's about. So let's talk now about so we're forgiving our past selves. We're determining our new self-concept. Like, who do we want to be? Who do you want to become? And then we're going to rewrite the story. And that's really like where I am in my life. I feel I am rewriting this story. And oftentimes that takes your thoughts, and you have to realize that your thoughts determine your story. So whatever you think about becomes your story, the story you tell yourself. But when you remember this truth, write this down. This is the key piece. You're not your thoughts. You're the thinker. You're not your thoughts. You're the thinker. So when you're having those like really negative thoughts, or you're spiraling downhill, or you're doubting yourself, you're hearing like, no way you can change that habit. You've been like this forever. It's not possible. You can't do that thing. Who do you think you are? Blah, blah, blah. Oh my gosh. Those are all loud. And I've been there and I've been there and I've been there. And it's really just saying like, who are you to say that? And almost stopping the thought and the story that your mind's trying to like throw at you and be like, wait, I'm in charge here. I'm the thinker. This is just the thought that popped up in my mind, but I'm the thinker. So I can redirect that and say, okay, I hear you, but no. It's almost like the same way that you could hear someone's opinion on something, but that doesn't mean you accept that as your truth. You can say, great, I heard you, but this is where I'm at. This is how I feel. This is where I'm going with things. And that is exactly like the same idea as your thoughts and your mind. You just have to lean into the truth that you're not your thoughts, you're the thinker. And this is how we rewrite the story. And one thing that I've really done in this whole transitional period, and I've talked about self-love a lot. And again, I am screaming this from the rooftops because this is how you really get the life that you want. I know people want to talk about you grind culture, like you got to do all these, Nothing comes to you more easily and more quickly as far as success or anything else in life than the shift in your mindset and energy to love yourself. And I don't know if this is even like spoken enough, but it's just the strongest piece of like everything you do in your life when you're doing it because you love yourself, it just makes life so much easier. Because even if you think about this, and we'll just like use an easy example, like going to the gym. Like some people go to the gym because they like want to look good, to attract a partner, blah, 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 whatever. And oftentimes, think about this. Let's be real. if you're doing something because you want like external validation, look at her, she looks good, or a partner to be attracted to you, whatever, then when you get that thing, let's say it's a partner, then you may like fall off on that because you're like, oh, which is fine. But it was because if you did it because you loved yourself and it felt good and it made you feel good, you'll continue to do it. You'll continue to do it even with a partner, even as your life. It's because it's something that makes you love yourself and you love how that makes you feel. So you keep doing it. Right. And that is really how you can gain the most success, because you know, because you love yourself enough to know you are capable of accomplishing that goal. You are deserving of those things that you want from your life. And when you walk into life or anything you're trying to do or build, whether it's a business or literally anything, when you know that you're deserving because you love yourself, you really kind of jump through a lot of those hoops of going back and forth and having these beliefs that you can't do it, and then reverting back into this space of like, okay, never mind, I'm just going to give up. Because you're not willing to give up on something you love that much. And that thing you love that much is you. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, just the way that they say, like, if you really love someone, you don't give up on the relationship, whatever. I mean, that's a whole other topic, but that's the same concept. Like, if you really love something, you're not going to let it go. If you really love yourself, you're going to make the right actions to make your life become exactly what you want it to be and what you're worthy of having. And so we're rewriting that story. And I am a big scripter. I love scripting. I don't know if you have ever done that before, but what I will give you as a tip, just try this. Just hear me out. No matter any kind of person, just try it out. Take a single sheet of paper, or you can use your notes app, whatever it calls you, and write down, ideally, what the version of you that you want to be would look like, would act like, would talk like, would have, all of those things. Put down the self-concept that you would want for yourself without considering any limiting beliefs. Don't think about the how it will happen. Don't think about anything else. Don't think about anyone else. Just who, in this scenario, what would your life look like if you could be whoever you wanted to be? And be real with yourself. Be real honest. Not what you think like might look good for other people. Like if you were just like, my perfect day looks like this. This is how I wake up. This is how I do this. This is what my life looks like. That will tell you what you need to strive for. Not strive for, what you need to become, what you're capable of becoming. And then you just have to trust that if you wrote all those things down about what you want your life to look like, what you want yourself to look like, those are all possible. All of them. But you have to believe it first. You. So what the next chapter requires. So now we got our paper. We're writing it. Like if you paused it really quick, if not, then it's okay. Come back. But now let's move into what this next chapter will require. So now you have your idea of who you want to be, what you want to become. And now we're going to release our old identities and our ego from worrying about what people will think while we try to get there. Gosh, I could talk about that one all day, because that has been a lot of this work that I've had to do as I'm rebranding, is learn to just let go. It's not that serious. That's why I started this podcast. I can be seen. I can be successful. I can be all the things. It's okay. I am safe. And I am going to let go of worrying about looking like a fool, what people might think, all those things. We have to release that old identity. Like, I'm not who I was. I don't identify with her anymore. And I talked about that, a lot of this starting over for me, a lot of this mess, a lot of moving across the country all alone. I had so many moments where I'm like, what am I doing? And it was really because I had to let go of my old identity and I didn't know what my new one was going to be. And I had to realize that that was up to me. No one was going to tell me. I had to find that myself. And once I started that journey of like, who do I want to be? Who the heck do I want to be? And once I started really looking at what I want, like, how will I be happiest? In a perfect world, what would my life look like? What would I be doing? What would I be getting up every day? What would I be talking about? Who would I be around? How would I feel? Once you answer those questions, you find out exactly who you want to be. And you will identify through that self-reflection of, okay, who do I want to be? The things you have to move in, out, around in your life. And that can be the hard part because everyone's journey is so different. It's not always as simple. I mean, I say it was a very hard one for me to pack up and move, but I know that my situation allowed me to do that. And some people's are a little bit that are different, but there's always a path to where you're meant to be. There's always a path to where you're meant to be. And you will tap into finding out what that looks like if you just trust enough that that's exactly where you're supposed to be. That's where it is. You know. So letting go of your old identity, letting your ego rest a little. Don't worry about what everyone's going to think about your choices. Or you remind yourself that anyone's judgment of you is a reflection of them. And you cannot take anything personally. I'm sure if you haven't read the 4 Agreements, Miguel Ruiz, like, it's an oldie but a goodie. And that's one of them. Do not take anything personally. That has been one that it just, as soon as something comes in your life that you're like, it makes you feel a certain way because someone's putting something on you and you remember, don't take anything personally. It's more than that. It's knowing that anything anyone is projecting onto you or saying to you that may seem hurtful is about them and not about you. And this isn't to be like, it's about you, not me. It's just to be like, that's the truth. And I've talked about this before. I'm happy. I have no thoughts to vomit rude things onto people or strangers or people in my life. Like, I don't even have one bit of desire to be rude to anyone because I'm happy and I'm not hurting and I don't want to hurt people. Okay, there's a number of reasons why I don't, but people that are hurt and people that are sad and people that are at that part in their journey, which we give them grace because we're all on different paths, they don't know any better. So they might throw some things at you, but you show that you can get through it by just acknowledging that it's not about you. And to be honest, like, another piece of this, really, if you can, depending on the dynamic of the relationship, you really should not tolerate disrespect from people. Because when you do, it's really hard for you to stay in that self-love place because you're like saying you love yourself, but then you're allowing disrespect and negativity and like rude comments to come at you from someone in your life, and you're not protecting yourself, right? So it's almost like when you love someone, you want to protect them. You don't want things to happen to them, right? Whether that's like, think about your best friend, your mom, your child, your partner, like whomever. Like, you're not going to tolerate someone talking trash to them all day or being rude, right? You get protective. Like, don't do that. That's the same way you have to think about your own self. And so if there are things and people in your life that are beating you down or speaking to you that way, like, you have to stick up for yourself and move on from that. if you want to change your self-concept. I get it. Everyone's situation is different. We're all on different journeys. I know I say that a lot, but it's because I never want to sound like I'm judging where you're at. But I'm telling you, if you want to move into a higher self-concept and a higher version of yourself, you have to let go of the things that are holding you back from becoming that. And being reinforced with this negative, doubting belief about who you are is not going to get you there. Okay? All right. So you're just going to, and then the last thing I'll say is that you're going to choose joy and ease and curiosity over pressure and fear. So in that, it can feel like a lot. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm being this new person. Like, it feels like a lot of pressure to become. And like, what if it doesn't work out? And you feel all these things. But you're not going to do that because you're choosing joy and ease. You are stepping in to becoming that person. You are them. You know what it feels like. You can see it in your heart. You can see it in your soul. You know that path you want to walk. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Do you know how you're going to get there all the way? No. But you just have to keep taking the steps, right? Knowing you're getting there. You're not going to, it's not all planned out. It's not all, oh, look at this. It was just exactly what I thought it was going to be. We already talked about this. We're letting go of what we thought our life was going to be, and we're just embracing the joy of what it is. That's where we're going. So I hope you're feeling a little more ready to become the next version of yourself, a better version of yourself, whatever you want to call your higher self, whatever you call it, whatever feels right for you. That's what I'm stepping into. So I'm here to welcome you, Heather Morgan. I don't even know, 3.0 really. And just a place where I am so content with becoming and being and I aming my life to exactly what I want it to be. And I'm so thankful for each of you on this journey. And I got my new tagline for the podcast, and it's trust your path no matter how messy it looks. Guys, I love that. I love that because that's really life. Like, when you become this new best self, when you decide you're stepping into that version, you just have to trust the path no matter how messy it looks, because along the way, it's going to be messy. And when I talk about messy, I don't just mean like messy. When I first started this podcast, I felt messy. But now I realize the messy that I am is just like that kid coloring outside the lines, right? It's not harming anyone. It's just a beautiful mess of like, I'm just free. I'm just going with the flow. I don't have to be conformed or pushed into this box, and I have to only color within the lines. I can be messy. I can move outside the lines. I can do what feels good. And I want you to get there with me when you're ready. When you're ready. So you can always come back to this episode if it's like, all right, Heather, I'm not ready just yet, but I feel there's a shift coming in my life, and I've been accepting things I don't want to accept. I've been tolerating treatment I don't want to tolerate. I've been selling myself short for too long. And when I'm ready, I'm coming back, and this is going to hit and everything's going to fall into place for you. It will. Trust your path, no matter how messy it looks. Once you know who you are and what you want your life to look like, you just have to take it one step at a time to get there. And I know, no, you will. All right. So I'll wrap this up by saying thank you so much for all the support, all the love. I would love for you to rate the podcast. I keep saying that, but it just matters so much to me to have that visibility, and so that this podcast can reach even more people. It's doing so great, and I'm so proud of it, but that helps so much. So I appreciate that. And as always, lots of exciting stuff coming on wanderingthewildmess.com. All my socials are there, so you can find and follow along with this journey. Again, thank you, and you matter.